I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes as submitted.
Thank you. Do I hear a second? Second, I'll second it. All in favor, state aye, please. Aye.
Aye.
All righty. Opposed? Okay. Now to the meat of the business here. And we will consider a certificate of appropriateness for property located at the corner of Fredonia and Hospital. This is COA number 2020-011. And
yes, thank you, Chairman. The address, as Hannah pulls this up on the screen so all of you can see and look along as well. It's on the corner of East Hospital and North Fredonia. It's a piece of property that you all know very well.
right.
If I said that intersection, you probably already had a picture of what it looked like in your mind. And perfect timing there, Hannah has it pulled up. The applicant is requesting, and let me pause, Chairman, and say that we have an Hlpc member who is not going to participate in this case. Dr. Perky Beisel is also serving on the Friends of Historic Nacogdoches Incorporated, which is the board, which is presenting this request. And so for the remainder of this item, Perky will not be acting as a commission member, but as a member of the Friends. I'm sorry about that. I just needed to put that out there for the record. Sorry, our phones are not muted. I apologize. Turn that down. All right, so moving forward, the applicant is requesting to remove the fountain that you can see circled there, and install a bronze statue within the existing footprint of the fountain. So in looking at the fountain there, and these are approximate numbers, these are not ones that we actually went out with the tape measure, but the diameter of the fountain itself is approximately 8 feet. And the diameter of the brickwork or the concrete work around the fountain is 17 feet. We understand it's not a circle, but that gives you an approximate measurement, so you have a sense of scale. And oftentimes when you're looking at these things, it is scale that you have to reference for the building. So does the proposed item overpower or blend with the surrounding area? That's why we give you that measurement. The applicant is requesting to remove the fountain and install a large bronze statue titled The Storytellers. For those of you who spent any time in that, which is probably any time more than a month, you will recognize these names. And it'll consist of 4 people: Bob Murphy, Brian Holt Davis, Ab Abernathy, and Charles Gray. And I will stop there in describing. And if you're not talking, could we get y'all to mute, because there's a little bit of feedback. And so if we could get everyone to mute their microphones, except for Jeff, because I'm about to call on Jeff. So don't worry about it, Abigail. And so the rest of the presentation, I will actually leave up to the chairman of Friends of Historic Nacogdoches Incorporated, Jeff Apt. So Chairman Jeff is here to answer any questions you may have of him. And of course, staff is happy to answer any you may have for staff. Chairman?
Okay, thank you. Let's turn it over to Jeff Apt right now.
Okay. I'm sure you have the packet before you, and you'll notice the footprint that that Brian showed you there. Stay right there. That'd be great. If you'll look at the 2 photographs I sent, you'll see the fountain. It's an octagon, I think. Anyway, that's relatively new. When I used to be a gardener for the Fredonia Hotel, and the fountain was different back 25 years ago. And ducks used to go over there and swim in it. They would walk through the hotel lobby and swim in the fountain. It was terrible. That's where they get the word foul. It was terrible. Anyway, they've upgraded it a little bit, trying to make it look better, but a fountain in the sun like that's not very inviting. People don't go there much. So I'll say that as preliminary. So we were wanting a place to put this 4-person statue, and we thought that would be a great place. Tourists would see it. And it's on a street where there's another statue, the statue of Dietrich Rolf. And then a block away, there's a statue of Gil Antonio Ibarbo. And then you have the wonderful large statue in front of the CVB, the Convention and Visitors Bureau. And there's just several statues around town. I don't know. Perky can chime in here since she's not on the board anymore. How many total statues? You know, Perky, can you count them up? I can't. Does that say 9, 5, what, 8? Okay, that's a total of 8 statues, and so we're going to add 4 more just with this one. But this 4 will just be in one place. Now, if you look at the photograph next to it, which is just it was a tiny mock-up that the artist did, which for us, you'll see right there the conceptual model. Harry Weber did this. Harry Weber, just so you'll know, is a well-known sculptor and done a lot of work throughout the United States at the Football Hall of Fame, the Baseball Hall of Fame, and he did these 2 right here. You see them, and then there's actually another at the Episcopal Church. So he's well known here, and we've seen a lot of his work. So the statue will consist. If you'll go back just a minute there, Brian Bray, are you running this thing, or is that Hannah?
That's Hannah. You just tell her which picture to go to, and she'll move.
The first of the conceptual one there, Hannah. Well, while she does that, the idea was because Friends of H&I, Friends of Historic Nacogdoches Incorporated, we were all about telling the story of Nacogdoches and telling our historic, our unique story. Nacogdoches is a very unique place. And somehow it came to us, why don't we do a statue on storytellers and the great stories that have been told about Nacogdoches over the years. So we came up with this concept. There you go. There it is. Great. And perfect. The clay, the model there, as you see, if you see there's kind of an empty chair right there, that chair will be on the north side. And so as you look at the picture there next to it, the proposed site, as it appears today, it says that chair, you will be looking, if you are right now looking at the Fredonia in that picture, you will see the backs of these fellows, okay? But if you come in from the front, as you left Fredonia Hotel, you would see this 4 fellows around this table with an empty chair. The one on, as we look at the picture on the left there, would be Bob Murphy. The fellow on the right, as we look at it, would be Charles Bright, and then Brian Holt Davis would be sitting there between them, and Ab Abernathy will have stood up and left that empty chair. And the idea is that people will be able to sit in that chair, and it'll be kind of cocked around a little bit more, but people will be able to sit in that chair and have their picture made with these storytellers. That's the concept. And right now, I talked to the foundry today, and they are putting these guys together in bronze. And I don't have what they look like, except this conceptual model, but we count on Harry Weber to do a first-class job. So that's the idea. And what we'd like to do is, at the proposed site here, is remove the fountain and take out the concrete work you see around the fountain and the 4 pathways leading to the fountain. One coming from the north, one from the east, one from the west, and one from the south. And replacing that, there you go, replacing that sidewalk and the area around the fountain with brickwork that's just like it will be the same kind of finish as at the CVB. Does anybody all know the CVB? I hope you do. There's brick pavers, so it'll look essentially just like it. We have the exact same paver, and it'll be the same concept. So we're trying to carry and tie these things together, and we want the public to think we thought of all of this in advance. So that's what we're trying to do. So we like to replace the fountain with those statues. And just for your information, there'll be some signage there that'll allow people to go to the internet and actually hear some of these stories. And we think people will really be able to enjoy that and actually hear stories from Nacogdoches storytellers. So that's the idea and what we would like to do to the site. And they'll have to, if you agree to this, there'll have to be some deconstruction here of taking out the concrete sidewalks and the fountain and replacing that. There'll be there's concrete underneath all these fellows, that you won't be able to see. It'll be under their feet, but there's some construction will necessarily have to be done, and there'll be no water there. The fountain, as a water feature, will be removed, and the fountain right now doesn't have any water in it anyway. Okay, that's all I've got. If you have questions.
Thank you, Jeff. Chairman, you'll just have to unmute. I muted you while Jeff was talking because there's a little feedback. So if you have to go to your phone, I'm sorry, and unmute yourself. Nope, not yet, Carol. I can see you waving.
Okay,
There you go.
okay.
There you go.
No.
You got it.
Sorry, I'm going, unmute me. Okay. Basically, this is such a fabulous idea. Do we have some questions for Jeff or for Perky? Do we have some comments? Speak up, people.
I just had a question. I might have read it in the pamphlet. I'm not remember, but what's the proposed time frame for how long it would take?
Well, the statues themselves are at the foundry and they're in pieces. They make these statues in different pieces and then they weld them together and do all work. The foundry works their magic. And so a lot of them are finished to some extent. I understand. I haven't seen them, but we're hoping if things go as planned to do some kind of, to install them the first of this in December, the 1st of December, sometime after the 1st of December.
Okay.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? I'm just thrilled about this. Charles Bright was one of my favorite people, and I always had the I could walk in the back door of his house at any time, and nobody blinked an eye, and I could sit and listen to that man talk for hours, and I'm thrilled about everything. I cannot imagine anyone being against this.
It's a great idea.
Chairman,
Yes.
I'm not disagreeing with you at all, but just for
No, I know.
y'all
I
have
have no
done
right
an outstanding job since Jeff was chair about avoiding feelings and talking more about it.
I know it. I'm so sorry.
I know
That has nothing
you're
to
the
do
one
with
first
nothing.
one to them that, but so Chairman, to give you a little bit of guidance from the staff side,
Yes, thank you. I
one of the
need
things you're
guidance.
looking at is it appropriate to remove a fixed object like a fountain and
Absolutely.
replace a fixed object like a statue? So are they similar? Does it? Well, actually, before that, is there historic value in the fountain?
Absolutely.
So that's the avenue you kind of need to look at. Is it appropriate to remove and install? We all agree that those characters are deserving of statue at some place. So
I feel like okay, the fountain was put there by a garden club, was it not?
I've heard different stories. It was there during the time when the building that there used to be a bus station there.
Mm-hmm.
It was there. It's been
I remember that
in several different forms. Right. They don't have a water well out there, and they've tried to update it. And I think the current fountain that looks there is, I think Susan Rentz did some updating to it.
I think you're right.
But
I do remember the ducks and everything.
Jeff is correct that should be the last major work on that fountain was under Susan Rent's ownership of the Fredonia. Right. So that's been less than 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I love it when Brian Bray says I'm correct. That's one of the fine things that he says.
It's always good to hear.
Yeah.
Well, that corner, because it is a parking lot in essence, it is not overflowing with charm, and it doesn't have a lot of historic significance to a parking lot. I'm sorry, but I think that this doesn't really have any history. I feel that as far as proportion and size is concerned, considering the fact that it is basically a parking lot, I really don't think it's going to be a problem. Does anyone else? I mean, please, let's talk about the viability of this going where it is going.
Oh, I have a question.
Sure.
Yes,
Jeff, are the plantings around there going to be upgraded, and are they maintained? Sometimes you go by there and people have dropped trash and
Yes. Well,
not
that's
pretty.
Mr. DeWitt. When the idea was put forward, Mr. DeWitt, I think at some point, I don't know, he's been disabused of the opinion now, but he thought he owned it, the property, and he's been taking care of it and having his guys mow it. And I think that'll all continue. So that'll go, it's right there in front of his property, and he'll still take care of it. So as far as that goes, and there may be another tree planted. There was a tree taken out recently because it was a Bradford pear that was in bad shape. And so we may do some peripheral landscaping, but there will not ever be an elaborate flower garden. I don't think he wants to take care of it, and I don't think Parks wants a new landscape to take care of. And Brian will say Jeff is correct.
Jeff is 100% correct.
So
that will have the bricks also. So not that much of it will be planted, will it?
Well, it'll essentially, the green space, as you look around that, as Heather's going to it there, will be the same amount of green space will be. That we're not going to add any paved surface to the site. That's not our, we'll basically replace the concrete sidewalk with the pavers, the brick pavers, as they are at the CVB. There you go. So it'll still look just essentially like that if you look down from it, except there'll be 4 guys sitting out there, and that's kind of how it'll. They're gonna have to get a better camera to see the 4 guys there, but anyway, that's essentially what it'll look like.
Gretchen, do you have any questions or anything?
No, that was the only thing I was concerned about. I think it's a good idea.
I do too.
Good.
Oh, no, we're not supposed to talk about that.
No, Chairman Walsh, it's and I in a very joking fashion, because you do an outstanding job of keeping them on track. But because this is something that we all, I would hazard a guess to say 100% of the people attending this meeting would like to see a statue of these 4 individuals at any point. So I just want to make sure we kind of veered away from that and have that as a given. So you've already said, I've heard several comments from you that, and I don't mean you as in the members, that there is not historic value in the fountain. So that was kind of your first check mark. And then your second one that you've already referenced is sort of the scale. And if you can imagine the water fountain, I'm not saying that the table is a hexagon, but it's still a fixed object, whether it's a circle, a square, an oval, a table-sized object is sitting there. And the proposal is for another table-sized object to be placed there. And then you have the fountain itself has a tall center. This will have 4 tall centers, of the 4 individuals. So I'm giving you the background that it is a fountain and a statue are completely different, but they're also very similar, at least in this particular case.
Yes.
Uh,
So I don't know if that helps you or confuses you, but use it as you want.
That's very helpful. It's very
Brian is right about that. I think the pure volume of what's there will be essentially the same. You'll just replace a fountain with 4 fellows sitting around a little table. So it's not going to increase. There's not going to be anything large. There's not going to be a huge statue like the one of the horse on the CVB, or a guy running on to the fight down at the parking lot of Mound and Main. It's just going to be these guys are going to be life size. So if you're taller than Ab, that you'll look there. If you knew Ab Abernathy, that's exactly, he'll be life size. He won't be any bigger. These guys will be life size. So it's not going to create any great height at all.
right.
These
And
guys will be sitting down.
it will be a photo op for visitors.
Sure. That's the plan.
Mm-hmm. Okay. If we have no more questions or comments, I think someone needs to make a motion. Are all our microphones turned off?
Alex and Gretchen are the only two that, and they're both muted. There we go.
I turned mine off. I was listening. I gotcha.
Would you like to make a motion, Alex?
Yeah, I was trying to see. I was trying to remember what the number was so I could say it officially.
It's 2020-011.
Okay, I make a motion to approve the 2020-011. Is that what you said?
To approve.
Yeah. To approve, yes.
Thank you. And I will second it. Do I hear a
No.
Gretchen?
No, I was just going to second it, but go
Okay,
ahead.
that's perfect. All right. Okay, all in favor of accepting the 2020-011 COA approval, state aye, please.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you very much.
Well, thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
So,
Well,
Abigail,
thank
Jeff,
you for the whole
you're
thing.
You're welcome to stay and take a trip down memory road with some education about fiberboard, or you're welcome to leave, whichever you choose.
Well, I'm going to leave right now. And now, if you need another member, don't call me.
Thank you for attending.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you all.
Thank you.
I appreciate
Bye-bye.
it. Appreciate your labor to do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we will talk about current issues in the preservation world.
Yes, so sometimes when we are low on applications and we're going to meet anyway, we like to educate y'all, just, stuff that may come down the pipe later or just anything that we find interesting. So what I'm going to talk about today, and it's not going to be like a lesson, and there won't be any tests, it's just for y'all's info.
We don't need to take notes.
So hardy board is something that has come before HLPC multiple times. It is touted as the new best thing and an alternative to wood. Well, there's a new hardy board. It's called Ascend siding, and so you can see over here to the right. They do the fake wood grain. They have a few different colors, and it's just a reminder that this is not a fix-all. If there's an area where there is rot or other damage from moisture, something like this is not going to fix the problem. Sometimes you need alternative methods, and hardy board is not foolproof. You can see over here, if it's not installed properly or if it is still exposed to moisture, it can fail. And there were worse pictures online that you can find, but just a reminder that we don't know yet what this Ascend siding, how it's going to age, how it's going to weather. It could be worse than hardy board. So there are times on hardy board when these alternatives are excellent, but when people just want to replace all their wood siding with this, it's usually not the best. So that is something we've had come up, and we have y'all have approved it in certain circumstances and not in others. And then moving on, so I was in Hutto this weekend, just outside of Austin, and there are solar panels everywhere. You see them, but that is also basically a brand new city. It's really interesting. So since I've been here, there have not been any solar panels come before HLPC, but it's something that could happen. In fact, within the past couple of years, a solar panel company has moved to Nacogdoches, and so it's something that could come before y'all. And of course, National Park Service, they have guidance on solar panels in historic districts. Here you can see a couple of examples. In historic downtowns, it's pretty easy. A lot of the roofs are flat, and so they have just these farms on top of the roof where they can just lay them and nobody knows the difference. And so If it's a low slope or no slope roof line, that's super easy. Plop them on top, you're good to go. And then others down here, this is an interesting example. This is a secondary elevation. It's the rear of a building. I think it was a post office. And so they put them on the awning. And so it's a feature that was already there. It doesn't require new holes in the brick, anything like that. And it's obviously visible, but it's a good compromise for this building. And then over here, this residential building has this funny little tumor. I don't know why they decided to do this, but obviously it is not recommended. But this is where the solar panels are placed on this structure. So obviously super visible. Definitely this simple ranch style house, it affects the roof line pretty severely. So that one is not recommended. And then I'm not going to go through the rest of these pages, but it's just more guidance from National Park Service if you want to look at it later. And then I also included some pages from Denver's design guidelines. They have really excellent stuff available, and these pages are for energy efficiency in general, but it shows, you know, they are placed on the rear 2/3 of the house. And I want to also point out down here, windows. I don't know if y'all can see my mouse when it's going around, but windows, they do not recommend replacing windows. They recommend repairing them using storm windows and weather stripping. So just as an aside, everybody always wants to replace their windows. Anyway, I digress. Here you can see there's another way to put them on a roof at an angle, depending on where your sunlight's coming in, I guess, and how your building is positioned. So they are at an angle on the back. You would never know that they were there as a pedestrian on the street. This is also, if there's somebody who is wanting to do a rooftop terrace, this is how we suggest doing it. Set back, you can't see from the road. And then another important point, they suggest if you have somebody who wants to put them in their yard, treat it as a shed. Treat it as you would any other secondary building on a property, because that's essentially what it is. If you have just the simple or single solar panels on posts or whatever. So, you know, who knows, we could see some applications for solar panels in the future, and at least there is guidance out there already, so we don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Good.
So that is it. That's just a little bit about what's going on in preservation. So did y'all have any questions about that?
No, I appreciate the work in this. This is very helpful. Thank you.
Very helpful.
Good. Okay. Well, that's all for that. Chairman, if you're ready to move on to HRG.
Yes. Discussing historic restoration grant.
Yes. All right. There's a lot to say about the historic restoration grant, so I'll try to keep it simple. This is a fund. The city council always awards $25,000, and I'll explain this in a bit, there's always more than that based on extra money, carryover, defaults, So we have a stack of letters about to go out to property owners in our historic districts and then individually designated properties. And it's going to say, hey, there's this fund, you can apply online. And this is the first year we're trying online, after we had so many applicants last year and it was hard to get all the correct information from people. This is an attempt to streamline the process, and hopefully it works out. Anyway, so just to update y'all on the current status of our existing grants, the people who have grants currently, they are also getting a letter tomorrow saying, hey, you have 30 days to finish your work. You can they can apply for an extension or turn in their receipts. And so right now we have $50,000 out encumbered for these different grants, and then the carryover number, that $18,000, that is a default already from this year, and then extra money. So House of Traditions and Golf Cafe, their project came in under budget, and so they had extra money left over. New funds, the $25,000. So this is the estimated total as it stands now. We'll have almost $44,000 to award for the next group of applicants, and that number could go up based on how many people default this year. It's a weird year. Not even going to go down that road, but there may be people who were not able to finish their projects. So they will either request extensions, or they will default and maybe try again later. And then just to look at what y'all should expect. So you're getting the update today at this meeting. People's receipts are due saying that they completed the work. They're due Friday, October 9th. New applications are due the 16th. And then at the October meeting, we will hear the reimbursement or extension cases, and then, excuse me, that's not right. Sorry, these will all be on the November meeting. The reimbursement or extension cases, and then new applications. You'll hear. So it'll be a long meeting, and hopefully by that time we're in person, because I can't imagine doing this all on Google Meet, but we'll see. And then after y'all approve or not the applications, then we go to City Council, present the budget, and they have the final say. So it sounds like a lot, and it all depends on how many applications we get. So last year we had 13, the year before we had 5. And so, you never know what you're going to get. And then just as a reminder, these are sort of where all the applications were from this year, just where they were located. And then the budget that was approved, and so we're waiting on those to come in. Hopefully everybody was able to finish. And then yeah, we'll see what applications we get. We've had a few people request information already, and I hope we have some good projects this year. So does anybody have any questions about HRG?
Okay.
I have one, but it kind of, do we know what's going to happen to Gall's Cafe since they closed?
It's for sale.
It's for sale. All that work.
Oh, Gretchen, you just muted yourself.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's been a weird year. I understand.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know anything about, once there are new owners, we're happy to work with them on, there shouldn't need to be any work done, but hopefully they are a friend of preservation.
All right.
Okay. All right. Now we need to discuss our schedule, and it should be right in front of you. And
nothing really to discuss. This is just
there it is.
Our schedule, so that y'all can put it on your calendars. Hopefully our 2021 planners are more useful than our 2020 planners.
Oh, let's hope 2020
Hannah, I know.
is just a better year.
What a waste of 2020 planners.
Right?
It was so depressing.
Absolutely.
And Chairman, I'm going to interject.
Yes.
This, and it was something that Dr. Beisel mentioned early on that kind of ties in with this. This is our proposed schedule, but as we know, there are 2 vacant spaces on HLPC, and those were done. There were other applicants who applied to fill those positions, but they crossed by a very short margin, and so it was already out with no applicants. Then applicants came in, and so I will work with Chairman Walsh to have a discussion offline, not here at the moment, about whether there is a need to fill those prior to the July normal appointment cycle. And the reason why we haven't done that up till now is because we haven't really needed there wasn't a big push to have a full 7-member board. We're hoping that going forward, we will need a full 7-member board, and that's just being optimistic coming into the new year. So, Dr. Meisel, that kind of answered your inquiry early on, but also in relation to the schedule, that's what we have for today. It very well may change if we end up adding new members and have to adjust slightly. That's all I had, Chairman.
That sounds good. Okay, I guess we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Great job. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.